While we appreciate your time and interest in joining us today, we're going to wait a moment while everyone gets logged into Zoom for our webinar. As we wait, we would like to share that the California Department of Education is offering professional development certificates to all attendees of this live webinar. Your professional development certificate will be sent from the email box upk@cde.ca.gov to the email address provided during registration. The certificate will come with the name you registered and logged into Zoom under. If you do not receive your professional development certificate within the next 2 weeks or by June 2nd, please reach out to us at upk@cde.ca.gov. A link to the mailbox will be shared in the chat shortly. Please note that certificates will only be issued to those who attended the live webinar using the name they registered with. A link to the, actually, we've dropped that in the chat, and now we're going to go ahead and get started with our webinar. Next slide, please. All right. Welcome to the CDE's Supporting Positive Outcomes and Advancing Black African American Student Achievement through Strengthened P-3 Alignment webinar. We are so excited to be here with you today and that you've decided to join us. My name is Stephen Profiter. I'm proud to be the Division Director for the Early Education Division. We have a few quick logistics to run through before we get started. We will be taking question and answer, or Q&A, using the Zoom Q&A feature. So please feel free to communicate with us there and ask questions as they arise. We will do our absolute best to address them. Also, really happy to say that we will be joined shortly by Deputy Superintendent William McGee. Superintendent McGee has a few competing priorities this afternoon, but he will pause. Will pause once he joins us. Really looking forward to seeing him in this webinar. Finally, the slide deck and the webinar recording will be made available. The announcement of the availability of it will be shared through the P3 listserv, which is hopefully how you learned about this webinar. If you are not currently subscribed, though, details on how to join will be posted in the chat shortly. Next slide, please. All right. So once again, thank you all for joining us. We are here for the Supporting Positive Outcomes and Advancing Black African American Student Achievement through Strengthened P3 Alignment webinar. This is our 29th edition of the Opportunities for All branch pre-kindergarten through third grade, or P3 webinar series. I would like to begin by introducing today's speakers. I introduced myself a moment ago, but today we will also hear from our Deputy Superintendent of Public Instruction, William McGee. Deputy Superintendent McGee leads the Building Educational Success Together branch. We will also hear from the CDE team, Johanna Cabeza, a child development consultant in the Early Education Division, who will be moderating the panel and will be introduced later in the webinar during our panel discussion portion. In addition to our CDE team, you'll hear directly from some of our amazing California State preschool programs, alongside our partners from Teachstone, who will share their experiences and insights. Next slide, please. To get us started, I'd like to ground us in today's topic before we hear from our wonderful speakers. When we talk about advancing Black student achievement, especially in preschool to third grade, we have to be clear that it begins with what Black children experience on a day-to-day basis in our classrooms and our school communities. The most powerful driver of those experiences is the quality of educator-child interactions. What children actually experience each day is shaped by everyday interactions, more specifically by how teachers respond to children, how they engage children in thinking, how they build relationships, and how emotionally safe and supported the classroom feels. As you know, quality has primarily been defined through structure and through compliance. And while those still do matter, they don't give us a clear picture of a child's entire experience. They do not tell us whether Black children feel seen, whether they feel affirmed, whether they are intellectually challenged, or even supported in their learning. Those experiences cannot be seen in only structure or compliance. They happen in relationships, a common term that you've heard throughout our P3 series if you've attended past P3 webinars. This is the shift that we'll be focusing on today, the classroom assessment scoring system, or commonly known as CLASS. CLASS gives us a shared research-based way to focus on interactions as the heart of quality. When observers are authentically able to check their bias at the door, CLASS allows us to see what children are actually experiencing. Through intentional reflection, action planning, and coaching, it helps strengthen equitable practices across programs in ways that directly support advancing Black student achievement. I'm going to do a little quick mic or quick check here to see if my esteemed colleague, Deputy Superintendent Will, has joined. And looks like he may not have joined us yet. Let's see. Bear with me 1 second, folks. Okay, we're going to make a little adjustment here in the slides, and once we get perfect, beautiful, the team is working their magic in the background, getting us all to the right place. All right, so I'm going to talk until my colleague joins us. I'm going to talk a little bit about the class, some of the requirements here to help kind of frame some of that, and then. And then we'll pivot once Deputy Superintendent joins us. So we've talked about why interactions matter for advancing Black student achievement, and really that's the why behind why California shifted to class for the California State Preschool Program. This slide here focuses on how that shift is implemented equitably. So as California moved from policy into practice, one of the key questions we had to answer was, who would be conducting class observations and how prepared would they be to do this work with equity at the center? That's why in California, class observers are required to do more than simply hold class certification. Our observers of our California State Preschool Program classrooms must also complete the Observer Support Series, which includes specific training on observing classrooms with dual language learners, children with disabilities, and training focused on reducing bias. This approach reflects a core belief in our implementation strategy that equity has to be built into the system from the start. No one child is the same, so we have to be able to differentiate. It cannot be added on after the fact. These additional requirements help ensure that class observations are culturally and linguistically responsive, inclusive of diverse learners, grounded in fairness, consistency, and importantly, trust. So, how does this all support advancing Black student achievement? Maybe a question you're asking yourself. Black children may also be dual language learners, for example, children who use Black English or African American vernacular English, or Black children who are Afro-Latino, among many other identities and language experiences. Black children may also have disabilities, which is why it's essential that observation systems are both inclusive and protective, supporting appropriate identification while also guarding against over-referral. Next slide, please. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce Carlo Young. Carlo Young is the CEO of Teachstone, leading its mission to enhance classroom quality and educator support through innovative, research-based solutions. Previously, he was president and COO at Concentric, an ed tech company tackling chronic absenteeism in K-12 schools. With over 20 years in education, M&A, consulting, and technology, Carlo specializes in leadership, digital transformation, and scaling business for growth. As SVP GM at 2U Incorporated, he oversaw over $250 million in revenue and led 500 employees across North America and EMEA, driving impact through online learning partnerships with Syracuse, Morehouse, Northwestern, London School of Economics, Cambridge, and others. Earlier, he held investment in banking and consulting leadership roles at Signal Hill Capital, KPMG, and Deloitte. Carlo is deeply engaged in service and mentorship. He is president of the board for the Baltimore Education Scholarship Trust, vice president of the Gilman Schools Board, and co-director of the Gilman Black Alumni Leadership Institute.
Really
His,
too.
rec- his recognitions include Diversity MBA magazine's top 100 under 50 emerging leaders, 40 under 40 honors from the Baltimore Business Journal and Drexel University, Rising Star accolades from NABA, and the Living Classrooms Foundation as a Kellogg Young Impact Scholar. Carlo is also a member of YPO and past president of NABA Baltimore. He holds an MBA from Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Management and a BS from Drexel University. I will now pass it to my friend Carlo. Next slide, please.
Oh, Steve, I don't even know who you're talking about, but thank you very much. It's an honor to be with you. Thank you for having us join this webinar today. We're thrilled to partner with CDE and the Early Education Division and all of the California educators and professionals that are on this call representing kind of P3 and those who are not necessarily on the webinar tonight, but we'll see this at some point in time. Just thank you all for taking your time out this afternoon. It's a really important topic. This is my lived experience, and I'll share kind of more momentarily, but super excited for the conversation. And Steve, I think you had a great opening to kick us off. Next slide, please.
I'm so sorry, Carlo. I'm so sorry to jump in real quick. It looks like William McGee has just
Oh,
joined
let's
us.
do it. Let's pivot. Let's do
I did
it.
not want to interrupt you, but I had to real
I
quick.
am I'm flexible, so let's do it.
Thank you so much. So, so everyone that is here, we're going to go ahead and pivot back to William McGee, and he will provide his welcome, and then we'll go back to Carlo. So, thank you so much for your patience and your flexibility. So, Will, you can go ahead and take it away. Yeah, I'm kidding. I know he was here, but maybe he left again. It looks like he may have left. I'm so sorry, Carlo.
I'm flexible.
Hey, I just hope that who's ever here participating is getting a nice little laugh out of this.
Yeah, well, that's good. We bring
All right.
we educate, empower, entertain, all three. So,
Thank you,
um,
Carlo. So
yeah,
you can go ahead and continue, and then once Will gets back, we'll go ahead and pivot right back to him. So thank you so much, and I love all of the laughing emojis. As teachers,
yeah.
you got to be flexible, so I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Gotta be flexible. You know that. One, just thank you. I don't know where you all found this picture, but that is me. So I really do appreciate you all finding this picture of my earlier self. I have a son who's 14 and two daughters, one that's 9 and one that's 7. And my son would looks just like this. So I'll show this to them to a little bit later. But let me just kick off a little bit like why am I here? Why am I in this conversation? And I think this is a really important dialogue that you all are presenting today. And I think about it personally, right? The strengths and assets of Black male students is oftentimes overshadowed in the education discourse, right? You cannot tell who Carlo is by looking at a set of performance metrics, right? You couldn't just look at my math scores or literacy scores or whether or not I graduated from high school or not and determine kind of exactly who I am. Um, I think that as Steve kind of teed off earlier, like we want, kind of as a Black male student, we want what everyone else wants, right? We want to be seen, we want to be affirmed, we want to be heard, we want to be understood, we want to be valued. And thought I might share, my work kind of in education over time, and you heard a little bit in the bio relative to like chronic absenteeism. Some of the data that shows up in that space for some of you all who know is like there's not students feel disconnected. This isn't always kind of some story you see on the news of why students step away from school. Oftentimes because they don't feel like they're engaged with an adult educator in the building. And that's why I came to Teachstone because I wanted to get to the root of this problem and being able to think about interactions as a lever and tool to really move the conversation forward. Thought I might share a quick kind of anecdotal story in my personal life. Um, as I was coming out of eighth grade, I went to public school up through eighth grade and ended up going to private school in ninth grade. And when I came to this private school, which was I was at PWI, kind of kind of private school and largely kind of black, all black or mostly black, kind of public school up through eighth grade. And when I arrived and I had my ELA course, my ninth grade English course, we I got introduced to a new form of writing. I'd written, was a great writer in middle school, was known for writing great book reports, and then I show up in ninth grade and they're like, "Hey, we want you to write, kind of essay writing, right? So building out a thesis, building out kind of the body of the paragraph, building out a strong conclusion." The first book we read was The Odyssey. So the a complex epic poem being kind of the first time that I get introduced to this type of writing. I totally bombed. I was not great. My grades were poor in English, and I had a teacher, Mr. Thompson, who actually is now an educator in the state of California. I live in Baltimore, grew up in Baltimore, but he's an educator in the state of California now. He he pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, you need to work on this a little more." And I went back to him after school, kind of continue to work on my writing, and my grades steadily improved in that class. I learned how to write kind of this essay writing, and eventually one day I show up and this school was fancy. They had mailboxes. I show up in my mailbox, and there's a letter in the mailbox after turning my grades around. There's a letter in the mailbox that says, "Carlo, congratulations, you've been recommended to be a writing center instructor." So the school had a writing center. I went from the kid who could not write in this form to being kind of the kid who now was the one who had demonstrated this skill. That meant a lot, right? This teacher to see me, this is a white gentleman, for him to be able to see me and affirm that, "Carl, I see the potential in you. You're not delivering what we need today, but I see the potential and want to drive you forward." And then to recognize me as kind of the person that he wants to see as a writing instructor, that was so meaningful in my life. I mean, I still remember it to this day, but it also was meaningful in real time because it allowed me to be a role model for some of the younger kids, white or black or Asian, kind of in the school, dual language learners or not. And that really kind of moved me forward. So I share that story that we all need those educators to help us move forward. We all have those stories, and some of you on this call are actually those people who are making those life-changing things in the moment. Next slide, please. What what I love about I talk about why I came to Teach Stone, and what I love about kind of the work that we do. Class, there's a lot of thoughts about kind of like, these broad ideas about what is good teaching, right? What does it actually look like? And what I really appreciate about this is like, class makes effective teaching visible and very specific, right? You'll hear a little bit in this video in a few minutes here that, we talk about kind of the what of classrooms oftentimes, but we were really shaping kind of the how of classrooms. We break these down to like observable interactions, and it's really what are educators actually saying and doing in the classroom, and being able to kind of work on that to help improve kind of outcomes for children. It creates, as Steve said, that shared lens and language, and I think that for those who've used class, understand with that language and it's translatable kind of across. And that's helping to drive the what are the interactions that matter the most for kids. You can tell when a kid has or a student has been in an environment that is kind of a class aligned or classroom as we kind of call it, and you see the measurable kind of academic outcomes. But beyond that, you see these other things. You see kind of okay, students are able to regulate their behaviors in different ways because they've had these interactions. That's the piece that really helps drive the needle, and I think that's why so many educators love kind of the idea of moving forward with class. Next slide, please. We really break class down to kind of three domains. Emotional support. This is where I think about kind of the warmth, kind of teachers, feeling respected, feeling like there's an actual connection. That is so important. And as Steve said earlier, like if you want to feel safe, you want to feel valued, you want to feel like you're ready to learn, this is like the table stakes, right? And I would say this, when I look at the data, I look at the data over time, and I've helped a number of single gender institutions, a number of co-ed institutions, and I will tell you, boys specifically and black males, that connection with educator matters a lot, right? And that's black or white, but that or other, right? It matters a lot to have that connection. And that emotional support layer is really huge. Boys don't talk about it necessarily, but they feel it, right? And I think that piece is huge. Classroom organization. This is the place where you think about, do we have clear routines in classroom? Do we set expectations? Last week, I was speaking at a Title I school here in Baltimore, Harlem Park Elementary and Middle. And the principal, Principal Venus Jackson, she was just so well equipped with pushing her students to drive higher than expectations, and sometimes they get at home. So that ability to push expectations, I think classroom organization helps to drive that momentum and then kind of help build those practice support to maximize our learning time and reduce disruptions, right? We've all been in classrooms where you're dealing with disruptions and takes you off of your game. The classroom organization side of things helps us move that forward. And then last but not least, instructional support is how educators ask questions, extend conversation, and help build out that curiosity, kind of range for our students. That piece is really in. So it's like the practice of actually teaching to help drive that inquiry and deeper thinking. Um, uh, and then when you think about it, as Steve was articulating, like the coaching that goes with the educators to help continue to move that practice forward. So it's not like we give you one dose of class and expect you to move forward. That ongoing coaching kind of model helps to move the needle, and you can kind of see it happen kind of in real practice. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned a moment ago, I want to just share this video. This is one of our partners, Dominique McCain. She's CEO of Education First Steps in Dallas. And I think she does a great job of explaining kind of class and practice. So please, we can play the video.
I describe class as the how of an educator's job. So often, educators are told the what of their job through a variety of evaluations and a variety of observations, but very seldomly does anyone get granular enough to help them understand immediate action they can take to transform what's happening in their classroom. Class does that. From the domains down to the dimensions, down to the indicators, down to the behavioral markers, it teaches and gives a very clear path for educators of how to do their job. So to me, class is the how of an educator's job.
Great. Thank you so much. Next slide, please.
I describe
Oh, and if I was going to bring anyone with me today, I have the best of the best. You think about supporting kind of positive outcomes and advancing Black student achievement. Marnetta is one of the first people I think about kind of at Teach. So Marnetta's not feeling the best today. She don't want me to tell you that, but she's like, Carl, I'm not missing this for the world. This is my topic. This is my jam, and I'm planning to be here. So let me give a quick bio of Marnetta so you can hear why I'm so excited about her. And the bio doesn't even tell you the whole story. With more than 20 years of experience in early childhood education, Marnetta Lermer serves as Director of Strategic Partnerships at Teachstone. She was recently promoted, by the way, so we should give her a round of applause on her promotion, where she leads initiatives to strengthen partnerships and expand the reach of high quality teaching practices nationwide. She previously held several leadership roles at Teachstone, including partnership success manager, senior professional services manager, and class specialist, developing deep expertise in instructional support, educator development, and systems building. Moneta began her career in Louisiana, teaching in various early childhood settings before moving to leadership roles across Shreveport and Bossier City. Her positions have included program coordinator, pre-K center director, and an award-winning family child care owner. Award winning. In addition to her extensive field experience, Marnette has served as a child care specialist and trainer with Northwestern State University's Child and Family Network and has worked as an adjunct instructor supporting adult learners and future educators. She holds a Master of Science from Louisiana State University Shreveport and a Bachelor of Science from Northwestern State University. Marnette is deeply committed to improving teacher-child interactions, and more than most of the people I know, and advancing quality across early childhood education system. I will now pass it on to you to Marnetta, and please take it away. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Carlo. And yes, I have strep, but I was not going to miss this for anything. Um, so I'm going to take you in my pocket too. That was a great intro. My story. Um,
Anytime.
my story, I have my own stories as a woman of color in the classroom, but my story is going to be about my favorite youngest child, and his name is Bryson, and his experience in school. My son Bryson is an artist, and I used to tease people and tell them that he literally came out of my body drawing. I'm like, I'm serious. Like, ever since he was an infant, he was like doodling. If he had any downtime in the car, like that is what he did: scribble, draw, etc. He was very excited to start school. He had a great preschool experience, and he was ready for big boy school, as he called it. So we entered into kindergarten, and Bryson did what he does, right? He had some downtime when the teacher gave him some instruction. So he flipped over his worksheet and he started drawing. His teacher did not like that very much. In fact, he got in trouble for doing it a lot because he just couldn't understand. There was no alternative, right? And he was just waiting. He's not fighting with students and whatever. He's just sitting and waiting. And we even had a parent teacher conference for it. And I didn't believe that that's what it was for, but that is exactly what it's for. So I was very surprised. We didn't come to an agreement, but she did state that she didn't want him doing that in the classroom, and he didn't. And unfortunately, he also eventually stopped drawing at home as well. He eventually started feeling like he was unliked. He couldn't do anything right in the classroom, and he wasn't thinking very much of himself. His grades were slipping. And when I inquired with her, like checked in and was just like, hey, what's going on? She told me that I was expecting too much of him. And if she could say that to me as his mother from her chest, I can only imagine what she said to him in the classroom. He dreaded going to school like every day. Add to that, when he came back from Christmas break, he went into anaphylactic shock. And so the classroom had to shift to his severe allergies to nuts, like peanuts, tree nuts, and soy. And she was annoyed at that extra attention that had happened in the classroom, and he experienced more isolation. So he had to sit by himself at lunch, but nobody knew why he was sitting by himself at lunch because he was sitting at the bad table. So all the students thought he was bad because she kept isolating him at the tables, excluding him from classroom activities, et cetera, instead of, um, shifting to include him. So this isolation that he felt even deeper after the holiday. So it was an interesting journey and very hard few years. But then we got to third grade. So, and I was happy because we were in our last grade at the school because I was ready to go. We had this educator, and I'm gonna call her name because she's amazing, Mrs. Culpepper. Um, and it was almost too good to be true. Like within the first few weeks, he was excited about going to school, but he was also very pensive, right? Like he was just like, maybe not. Um, but they were doing the science lesson, and Bryson started doodling, which he hadn't done in school in like forever. And he ended up making a tree frog. When the teacher said his name, he told me he shrank, like he was scared because his name was usually said with consequence, not with anything else. She asked him what he drew. She was curious, but she was also impressed that he had freehanded that in class just while she was talking. And she wanted to show the class and celebrate him, right? So, not a consequence, but a celebration of what he had done. Then she went on to find space for him to create. So, he became the illustrator of their classroom newsletter. And she found out by talking to him and getting to know him that he also wrote stories. And so she encouraged him by setting aside a space in the classroom, like 30 minutes a week, for him to share his next chapter with the class, which they looked forward to. So, like, they celebrated. And she did that. That was just the culture of the classroom. All the students felt that warmth, connection, felt seen and just supported. She affirmed that his talent and also that art could be a job. I had told him that, but I'm just his mom and I don't know anything, right? Um, so one day she reached out to me and she asked me for some of his artwork because she wanted to submit it for an opportunity to audition for a talented art program. We did, and he got in. That year in her class, he scored mastery in his core subjects, English, math, and that relationship and feeling welcome and seen had a huge impact on the trajectory of his life. He still talks about her. That is the power of interactions. Next slide, please.
Real quick, Marnetta,
Yes.
here I go again. I'm sorry, interrupting your. I didn't want to interrupt your story. That was such a great story. Just really talking about the power of interactions and feeling seen and supported. Definitely powerful. I got the goosebumps, and it looks like William is here. So we're going to pivot over to him so that he can give a welcome, and then we'll pass it right back to you to continue your slides.
No,
Thank you so much, Marnetta.
Marnetta and Valentina, no, thank you. And I'm not even going to do a welcome just because what Marnetta and Carlo just shared is exactly on point for this webinar. As Valentina and Steve may have mentioned, my name is William McGee. I'm the Deputy Superintendent of the Building Educational Success Together branch at the California Department of Education. And on behalf of State Superintendent Tony Nerman, I say thank you And I say thank you to all who are attending this webinar. We are having 2 webinars today on Black student achievement because the California Department of Education wants to get the word out. And I'm actually leading the African American Student Success Network today in Linwood. And exactly what Marnetta just spoke about is what we were working on today. And I'll tell you guys that I was in tears today as we heard from 10 Black male students from Linwood Unified speak and tell their story. And so this is exactly what it is about. And I apologize if I'm speaking so quickly because I know we have our sign language interpreter, but I'm on a plane and this is very important work and we wanted to do this. Okay, so on the next slide, you'll see the
And your time is shut down and see if we can find
information about our students, so please keep them in mind. And on the next slide, you will see information on the Black Student Achievement Task Force, which convenes educators, and this is the platform. So we want to hear from you as professionals in the field. Let us know how at the Department of Education we can support you. And as Marnetta comes back on and she finishes this story, please let us know how we can continue to provide that type of support for all of our children, especially from the future. Thank you, everybody.
All right, I'm back. Okay. Black children experience fewer effective educator-child interactions than their peers, highlighting an important equity gap in early learning environments. However, research tells us that educators can improve the quality of these interactions through intentional practices, professional support, and effective implementation strategies. When these approaches are carried out successfully, educator-child interactions become more responsive, supportive, and engaging. As a result, Black children benefit through stronger academic, social, and developmental outcomes. These 4 statements are going to guide this section of our presentation. Next slide, please. The problem. Research consistently shows that Black children are less likely than their peers to experience consistently positive and effective interactions with educators. And these types of findings are exactly why this Black Student Achievement Initiative exists, because people across California recognize that there are real and persistent opportunity gaps and that closing them requires intentional, sustained work. Next slide, please. These disparities are reflected in differences in teacher expectations, classroom engagement, and disciplinary responses, often influenced by implicit bias, cultural misunderstandings, and broader structural inequities within school systems. As a result, Black students may receive fewer opportunities for supportive feedback and relationship building in the classroom, which over time can shape students' sense of belonging, engagement, and opportunity within the learning environment. Next slide, please. Black children, especially our boys, tend to have more conflict and less close relationships with teachers compared to other students. Next slide, please. We spend a lot of time measuring outcomes, test scores, discipline rates, achievement gaps, and those measures matter. But to affect real change for Black children, we have to focus on the experiences and opportunities that drive these outcomes. And that is exactly what this initiative is centered on, not just tracking where children end up, but improving what they experience every day. Because these small, incremental, moment-to-moment differences add up, and they shape very different learning experiences and very different outcomes for students. And these differences matter because interactions are one of the strongest drivers of what happens for students. Next slide, please. Through more than 300 peer-reviewed articles, we learned that meaningful interactions lead to improvements in children's development in all categories, from math and literacy skills to classroom engagement to social, emotional, and cognitive development. More specifically, we've seen better performance on math problems, increased vocabulary language, improved listening comprehension. Next slide, please. When students are truly engaged, everything in the classroom changes. We see a real spark Increase enthusiasm for learning, where students don't just participate, they lean in. They're curious, motivated, and genuinely excited to be part of the lesson. That energy naturally leads to stronger, more positive connections with educators. Students interact more, respond more openly, and become active partners in the learning process. We also notice greater cooperation, persistence, and focus. Students are more willing to collaborate, push through challenges, and stay on task even when the work gets tough. And most importantly, there is more active involvement in classroom activities. Discussions are livelier, group work is more productive, and learning becomes something students do, not just something they observe. In short, engagement transforms a classroom into a place where students don't just show up, they show up ready to learn. Next slide, please. We see powerful shifts in student behaviors and relationships. There is a reduction of challenging behaviors as students begin to regulate their emotions more effectively and respond to situations with greater control. We also see fewer conflicts with educators. Interactions become more respectful and collaborative, with students better able to listen, reflect, and respond constructively. Another important change is greater inhibition of impulsive behavior. Students are more thoughtful before acting, showing improved self-control in both academic and social situations. And overall, there's an improved social competence. Students communicate more effectively, build healthier relationships, and navigate peer interactions with growing confidence and maturity. Together, these shifts create a more positive, stable, and supportive learning environment for everyone involved. Next slide, please. When we talk about cognitive development in the context of effective interactions, we're really talking about how students think, respond, and adapt during learning moments with others. We see improved working memory show up in real-time conversations and activities. Students are better able to hold on to directions, ideas, and feedback while actively engaging with teachers and their peers. We also see stronger inhibitory control, which is essential for effective interactions. Students are more able to pause, listen fully, and respond thoughtfully instead of reacting too quickly or interrupting. And there's greater cognitive flexibility, allowing students to shift their thinking during discussions, consider different viewpoints, and adjust their responses based on the information or feedback. Altogether, these cognitive gains make interactions more meaningful, more productive, and more collaborative, creating a classroom where communication truly supports learning. Next slide, please. For Black students specifically, teachers who communicate high expectations and provide emotionally supportive instruction can counteract the effects of stereotype threat and low institutional expectations. Next slide, please. With effective, consistent interaction-focused support, educators can improve the quality of their interactions, and we can see meaningful changes in the classroom. And in some cases, shifts in patterns like exclusionary discipline. Next slide, please. This does not require us to ask educators to do something completely different. Effective teacher-child interactions often include frequent positive feedback, warm, respectful communication, active listening, collaborative learning, fair and consistent expectations, encouragement and critical thinking, and recognition of student strengths and experiences. Next slide, please. When we look at systems that improve the quality of interactions, a few consistent practices stand out. They start with focused professional learning that strengthens everyday interactions, the small moments that shape student experience. They provide practical tools and support to help educators build warm, respectful relationships, promote student autonomy and leadership, and establish clear routines and proactive behavior supports. These systems are grounded in shared, evidence-based definitions of effective interactions, so everyone is working toward the same clear standard. They also make practice visible through ongoing observation, not just once or twice a year, but continuously, so real classroom practice can be seen and supported. This visibility leads to timely, specific feedback focused on actionable next steps educators can use right away. And it's paired with structure, reflection, and sustained support, giving educators time to think, try new strategies, and refine their practice over time. Because real improvement in interactions doesn't happen all at once. It happens through continuous learning, feedback, and growth. This is the shift California is investing in, systems that improve what educators do every day so that Black children's experiences are better. That is our shared commitment and why we are all here. Next slide, please. Black students are more likely than their peers to experience exclusionary discipline, such as office referrals and suspensions. Bias, implicit, structural, systemic, is at the root of this. And these patterns begin early and persist over time, shaping students' sense of belonging, access to instruction, and long-term outcomes. Through resources like your framework for equitable early learning environments and an explicit focus on improving daily interactions, you are already creating the conditions for California's educators to examine that bias, interrupt those patterns, and build more affirming experiences for Black children. You're helping educators build relationship centered classrooms like Mrs. Culpepper, right? Culturally affirming pedagogy, predictable and emotionally safe environments, opportunities for Black students to experience voice, leadership, and intellectual affirmation, restorative practices that preserve connection instead of exclusion. These shifts require educators to continuously examine their own practice. And these are some of the questions worth returning to again and again. Do Black students feel seen, respected, and protected here? Whose behaviors are viewed as normal or disruptive? Who gets grace, redirection, and second chances? Who experiences school primarily through correction? Because belonging should be treated with the same seriousness as academic achievement. We know interactions shape these patterns, which makes me wonder what becomes possible when we intentionally, collectively improve them. Next slide, please. Ultimately, reducing exclusionary discipline is not about asking educators to be perfect. It's about building systems where adults continuously examine practice, receive coaching, interrupt inequitable patterns, and remain accountable to whether Black and African American students genuinely experience safety, dignity, connection, and belonging every day. And that accountability extends beyond the classroom. When Black families see that their children are treated with dignity and high expectations, the relationship between school and home strengthens. Building that trust is part of this work. And that is exactly the kind of system California is committed to building through this initiative. Next slide, please. For most of this presentation, we have not cited our sources, but I'm going to share a few findings from studies here. Stronger educator-student relationships are linked to improved social, behavioral, and engagement outcomes for Black children. That's Decker, 2006. As relationship quality improves, students show gains in engagement, behavior, and academic outcomes. That's Ioma Iruka, 2025. Close, positive relationships act as a protective factor supporting language development, while conflictual relationships are linked to increased behavior challenges. That's Goldberg and Iruka, 2022. Across early childhood through elementary grades, higher quality interactions are associated with greater achievement, stronger social skills, and fewer problem behaviors. Together, this research shows that when we improve the quality of interactions, how educators structure classrooms, build relationships, and engage students in learning, Black children experience meaningful, measurable benefits. Next slide, please. To achieve P3 alignment, we have to ensure the quality of interactions a child experiences at age 3 is the same quality they experience at age 8. That continuity is how we close the gaps in California that brought us here today. Results don't happen overnight. They happen because educators and leaders like you make them happen. And here in California, where classes are already part of the CSPP requirements, there's already a strong foundation in place. The opportunity now is to build on that foundation by strengthening the connection between observations, feedback, and daily practice. Because observations alone don't create change, feedback has to be meaningful. Practice has to be supported over time, and the goal has to stay focused on improving interactions, not just measuring them. Class can be a powerful tool, but at the end of the day, it's just words on a page until you bring it to life through coaching, reflection, and continuous improvement. That's where real impact happens for educators, for leaders, and most importantly, for children. And it is what Black children deserve. I will now turn it over to Steve from CDE for the panel discussion. Steve,
Ooh.
next slide, please.
Oh, thank you, Marnetta. You gave me
Marnetta.
goosebumps.
Great.
So, yeah, it gave me some goosebumps there. Just amazing, incredible presentation on how to promote equitable outcomes for Black African American children and families. Um, intentional developmentally informed strategies in preschool to third grade, such as using the class tool. Those are the things that they help strengthen supportive learning environments and foster meaningful family partnerships and support, improving student outcomes. There's something that you said a lot of things, right? There's one thing I just wanted to repeat here. I think it was something along the lines of belonging should be treated with the same seriousness as academic achievement, and that spoke to me. So appreciate you, Marnetta. Appreciate that we are seeing some questions coming into the chat. Keep those coming. We encourage all webinar participants to apply the insights shared today to strengthen your classroom and school communities, promoting equity and inclusivity, and affirming educational experiences for Black African American students and their families, while also supporting social and emotional development and reducing discipline disparities. And I would just double down, emphasize what Marnetta said right there at the end, right? It's words on a paper until you, right, do something with it. So I'm going to stop talking here and transition to our amazing panel and the discussion. Next slide, please. It's now my great pleasure to introduce Johanna Cabeza. Johanna is a child development consultant in the Early Education Division's Guidance and Regulations Office here at CDE, and she will be our moderator for today's panel discussion. Thank you, Johanna, for moderating our discussion panel. I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Steve. Definitely agree with you. Listening so far is giving me some goosebumps. Yes, so now let's have our next slide, please. We are going to begin by introducing our panelists, and let's start with Thelma Bayona. Thelma has been in the field of education since 1993. She started her career as an instructional assistant, then taught preschool, kindergarten, second grade, and fourth grade. She also has been an EL specialist and now an early childhood director for Compton Unified. Thelma also serves on the executive cabinet for Compton Unified. The Compton USD Early Childhood Development has been implementing class for some time as a QSLA participant. Her experience with the class framework has shown it to be a powerful tool for supporting teacher-student interactions. It raises awareness and helps provide educational equity for their Black and African American scholars. In addition, class grounded in 3 essential pillars: classroom organization, emotional support, and instructional support, creating the optimal learning environment for our Black students. Additionally, class practices such as promoting language development, higher order thinking skills, meaningful feedback are especially important in supporting school readiness and long-term academic success for Black African American children, where they feel seen, valued, and challenged. Educators use the class tool to strengthen relationships, build trust, and promote culturally responsive interactions. Then we also have Laprice Brown. Laprice Brown serves as the director of the Child Development Center at San Joaquin Delta College in Stockton, where she provides leadership and oversight for comprehensive early childhood education programs serving young children and families. With over 26 years of experience in the field of early childhood education, Laprice brings extensive expertise in program administration, family engagement, workforce development, and cross-system collaboration. Throughout her career, Laprice has held a range of leadership and service roles dedicated to supporting children and families across educational and social service systems. Her experience includes serving as a school readiness and preschool specialist in the Lodi Unified School District, Director of Early Education in the San Joaquin County Child Abuse Prevention Council, and social worker with the County of San Joaquin Human Services Agency. She also served as a program supervisor and home visitor with the Head Start Child Development Council. In addition, Laprice contributes to foster youth skill development as a life skills instructor and resource family approval facilitator within foster care and independent living programs, and as an adjunct faculty member at the California State University, Sacramento. Laprice holds a Master's of Arts in Human Development from Pacific Oaks College, and a bachelor's of arts in sociology with a minor of psychology from California State University, San Elias. I think I didn't say that right, but yes. She also trained as an observer of class as well as trainer in interaction essentials, including class-aligned approaches, supporting educators in training effective teacher-child informed practices, including the use of class, to enhance the quality of early learning environments. She focuses on strengthening emotional support, classroom organization, and instructional interactions to create inclusive, responsive, and empowering environments for all children. Through intentional coaching, reflective practice, and professional development, she supports educators in examining bias, building culturally responsive practices, and fostering strong relationships that promote a sense of belonging. LaPrice is deeply committed to advancing equity in early learning, with a particular focus on improving outcomes for Black African American children. She works to ensure that class implementation is not only a tool for quality improvement, but also a framework for examining adult interactions, disrupting inequitable practices, and strengthening culturally affirming environments. Her approach emphasizes relationship-based care, affirmation of children's identities, reduction of exclusionary discipline practices, and meaningful partnership with families. Through her leadership, LaPrice centers a child and family-focused approach that values collaboration, professionalism, and continuous improvement, ensuring that every child is supported to thrive in a high-quality, equitable early environment. Next slide, please. We also have with us Rebecca Cabrera. Rebecca has been working with children for the last 11 years. She holds a bachelor's degree in child development with a concentration in counseling and family services. She's currently a STEAM preschool teacher in the city of Compton. Rebecca provides hands-on learning experiences to foster creativity, curiosity, and critical thinking skills. She truly enjoys her students thrive with the new interactive curriculum. Her goal to continue working with children and continue growing professionally in the field. Rebecca's experience with class has been wonderful. Through this journey, she has met some amazing coaches who inspire her and share the same passion as she does. Rebecca has received great advice and amazing support. She has applied recommended strategies and enjoys seeing her students develop stronger language abilities, problem-solving skills, and sees the wonderful ideas that they bring into the classroom. Class is an amazing tool that supports incredible relationship with students of all backgrounds. Class makes it a priority to always represent culture and diversity in the classroom to ensure all of our students and families feel welcome and valued. We live in a diverse world, so it's essential to learn about different cultures, celebrate differences, and continue improving learning environments where every student has the opportunity to succeed. And last but not least, we have Marissa Marquez. Marissa has been in the early education field for 11 years. She holds an Associate of Science in Child Development and has a Bachelor's of Science in Child Development as well. This past 2 school years, Marissa has worked for Compton Unified School District. This year she was given the opportunity to work for the STEAM program with Compton Unified. This program has provided an opportunity for the students of Compton to engage on learning as for her as an educator, and it has provided new engaging activities. Class has been an amazing experience for Marissa as an educator. It has given her a guide to create not only engaging environments, but also create strong relationships between herself and her students. It has also provided a guide to build confidence with her students by providing more opportunities for them to share and build on their thinking skills. Class has helped many educators understand the importance of treating all students fairly and creating a positive environment. Class is also used to emphasize the importance of diversity and creating a safe environment and fair education for all students. Yes, and I keep seeing all those hearts coming in. Absolutely. They all deserve all the hearts and round of applause. Amazing panel today. So let's go to our next slide, please. So now that I introduce all the panelists, I will review the questions that we'll be asking them for our discussion panel before we take down the slides and begin our discussion. So I'll go one by one. Our first question is, from your role, please share one P-3 alignment practice or system you believe that has the greatest impact on advancing outcomes for Black African American students and why. Then our next question is, how are you using developmentally informed practices or tools, such as class, to strengthen supportive learning environments in P-3 settings? And what shifts in teaching or school community practices have been the biggest difference? Next slide, please. Then we have question 3. Discipline disparities often reflect adult beliefs and systems rather than children's behavior. How are you embedding ongoing self-reflection, bias awareness, and coaching into professional learning so this work is accountable, continuous, and reduces exclusionary discipline while strengthening Black and African students' sense of belonging? And our last question is, what does meaningful partnership with Black African Americans families look like in practice in your P-3 settings? And how are you creating the environment for trust, shared responsibility, and a family voice? All right, so I am going to repeat the first question. And Thelma, I'm going to start with you.
Wonderful.
From your role, please share one P-3 alignment practice or system you believe has the greatest impact on advancing outcomes for Black African students and why.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. There are a few practices that we have put in place in Compton USD. One is quality and focused professional development. 2 would be classroom coaching, that is a support of classroom coaching, and the implementation of a BCBA in our classrooms for the program that supports the classrooms. We also implement our SIP practices. We are part of our supporting inclusive practices with a Riverside County Office of Ed, which is amazing. So those 3 elements have been a pillar put together to really support the effort. So those 3 components work together to ensure the positive outcomes for our Black and Brown children. We have noticed that after the pandemic, there was an increase of student behaviors, whether either they were lacking language or they needed to be around their equal peers. But we wanted to make sure we support those families and the students and the teachers. So the professional development, the BCBA, has been incredible support to support those efforts. Our BCBA male working with the little ones, and they look just like, he's an African American gentleman that has connected with our families and our students in a great sense, and our teachers. He goes into the classrooms. He supports the teachers on site, provides strategies, provides the supports, and these techniques on how to support a student that is, having that behavior. So as a result, what we have seen is a tremendous decrease in referrals for special ed or assessments. Their teachers understand that there is a protocol in place, that there is support, and that we're going to go through this together before we go through the next steps. Uh, Teachers have really feel supportive and value, just like the families. They have feel that they are not just being provided with the techniques, but they also have the opportunity to ask questions when something doesn't work. And how can we change things? So I feel that providing the landscape for teachers to feel and the students to feel respected, valued, and having a sense of belonging in the classroom, it's important. And they feel that they can support the system and they can also be part of the system supporting the students without having to really call parents, and they can handle it in their classroom. So as a result, we have seen a tremendous decline on referrals to special ed. And I think that's one of the greatest success we have had in Compton Unified, providing those three components that support the system.
Thank you, Thelma. So what we're hearing from Compton Unified is that proactive in the classroom support after the pandemic helped teachers feel supported with clear on expectations. And also it reduced the special education referrals, especially for Black and Brown students. And there was an overall improvement in student outcomes. And I love the connection that you brought about the male representation in our early education settings. Yeah, thank you. Now I'm going to invite LaPrice.
Hello, everyone. I am from San Joaquin Delta College. And one of the things that we are doing is we are aligning our curriculum, our assessment practices, and expectations across our early learning classrooms, while also centering on the cultural identities, lived experiences, and strengths of our Black and African American children. Another thing that we're doing is we're ensuring that all teachers are trained in CEFL and CPIN. CPIN has multiple trainings for our staff. The beginning together trainings with inclusion. We require some SECO trainings, trauma training. So we're making a lot of this training mandatory for everyone on our team, including even our kitchen staff. Our kitchen team is also invited to attend these trainings and are required to attend these trainings. But a big thing that we do that focuses on that sense of belonging is we celebrate families. Every month, there is a different culture or family that we're celebrating, and we collaborate with the parents and we ask them, how can we celebrate your family? How can we teach everyone in the classroom, all the children, about you and where you come from and the clothing that you wear, the food that you eat. We want everyone to feel comfortable with that. The parents come in, sometimes they come in their cultural attire and they share with us what it means and how special it is to their family. And we invite parents in to read about their culture and things like that. So it's really a collaboration is built on just respect, that sense of belonging. The children are so excited when their culture comes and it's time for them to share. And that includes our staff because we're also a part of the family. So everyone is celebrated. So when you come to our center, you know that there's going to be a time that your family is celebrated. And I ensure that that time is equal for everyone. No one family gets more than the other, and that's only fair. So, and we also have food experiences with that. So the family may share a food that they love in their culture and we'll purchase that food so that the children can also experience that food that they're having. And it's just families just love it. It's a really nice time. And the teachers really pour everything into making sure that all children just feel welcome and respected and cared for.
Thank you. Thank you, LaPrice. So you shared that a strong P3 to third alignment, it needs to be consistent, developmentally appropriate, culturally responsive. I love how you share the food section. My ear just went, whoop, yeah. That's important, very important. Food. Yes. And then when you do all that, students feel safe, valued, supported. You align curriculum with family connections, with expectations, with practices from preschool all the way to third grade, and that helps strengthen many components such as social emotional development, as you mentioned, and the overall academic outcomes. Thank you. So now let me, how about Rebecca? Would you like to go next?
Good afternoon, everyone. So one alignment that comes to mind, very important, is always making it a priority, as they mentioned, to represent culture and diversity. We like our students to feel welcome. We like our students to feel seen. And as Ms. LaPree said, we as well like to cook in the class. We give the children opportunities to make guacamole, salsa, those hands-on activities where they really do get to experience different cultures and share. And they love that. They love to share. We also have sometimes students bring in pictures. They bring in their pictures and share, their family culture. So yeah, just providing those opportunities and encouraging them to feel proud where they come from, it's very fun to see, and it also helps children feel celebrated and respected.
Thank you, Rebecca. Yes, absolutely. Great job at sharing how when children are feeling celebrated, they're feeling respected. Yes, I'm going to quote you on that. Yes. And now, Marissa, we would love to hear from you.
Hi, everyone. So I do have the pleasure of working with Miss Bayona and Miss Cabrera here at Compton Unified. And just to build on what Miss Bayona was saying, we do have some really amazing systems here in order to not only support us as educators, but our children here, and to make sure we're creating, a better future for them. And I think that two of those things that we use here that we've been getting a lot of extensive training on are class and Eckers. So I do think that our training on that does help us as educators to create better outcomes for our Black and Brown children here in Compton. I think this is done by creating more opportunities for all of our students, regardless of their background, and discouraging any negativity towards students in the classroom. Both systems also emphasize the importance of not just physically safe, but emotionally safe and engaging environments. Um, so why is a safe environment important to me as an educator? So I think in our learning as educators, we learn a lot about environmental racism and environmental trauma. So meaning that not all children, especially in different cities here in Los Angeles County, like they don't have the same experiences as some other children who may come from different areas. So I think that it's important for us as educators to understand that our children may experience environmental trauma, environmental racism, and understand that that trauma may create behavior. And then understanding that, okay, so what can I do in my environment? How can I create my environment safe? How can I make my environment engaging? And using tools such as Class and Eckers helps build that desire and urgency in myself as a teacher to create a better learning environment, regardless of where I am or my classroom environment.
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you for highlighting the importance of safe, engaging, trauma-informed classrooms. Then the supported by tools like class to help all children feel safe, supported, and ready to learn. So now I'm going to hop over to question number 2. And Rebecca, I'm going to start with you. How are you using developmentally informed practices or tools such as class to strengthen supportive learning environments in P-3 settings? And what shifts in teaching or school community practice have made the biggest difference?
So the tools that have helped me strengthen the learning environment is the class tool, the DRDP assessment, and our new STEAM curriculum. So these tools really help me as an educator to see like the domains my students will be focusing on And these tools also help me track like my students' development individually and as a class. And then the other tool that I enjoy using as well is called Learning Genie app, which is an amazing tool for communication, building relationships with families, and also keeping track of the children's development. With the class assessment, we do have like in-home assessment practices, and we have amazing coaches who come demonstrate, model, encourage us a lot. So we intentionally set up the classroom with visuals, daily routines, and with that guidance of our coaches, we take all their advice, setting up, like I said, the visuals, really help our students with smoother transitions. And then they also help us a lot with instructional support practices that help us prevent like what they call challenging behaviors, encouraging just students to making new discoveries. And we also use terminology, like with our STEAM curriculum. We do encourage our students to use like more advanced vocabulary, and we also encourage the parents to, engage in this open-ended questions and conversations at home as well.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for sharing that class coaching and culturally responsive STEAM learning go hand in hand, as it helps teachers create more engaging, inclusive classrooms by connecting curriculum to the children's cultures and experiences. And that way you strengthen the engagement. Now I'm going to invite LaPrise to share, please.
Okay, well, we receive coaching through our QRES system, and we also receive the Infant and Early Childhood Mental Health Consultation Network, so we receive coaching through them as well. This year, we implemented OWLS PALS, which is it's a support for social emotional learning, and that's through Creative Curriculum. We send free community resources and events to families regularly to support them in being active in the community. Just for that, because everything rings when you have an Apple. When you have an Apple device, the computer was ringing. um, but again, we implemented Owls Pals and we send out free community resources to families. We use developmentally informed practices and tools, including class, to strengthen and support learning environments by focusing on social emotional support, classroom organization, and instructional support. And we are really focusing on instructional support with our QRAS, with the QRAS coaching right now. Class data guides reflective conversations with the teachers about the relationships they're developing with the children, the teacher-child interactions, and intentional engagement strategies. We reflect often, and that's a big thing at our program. The most meaningful shifts have included increased emphasis on warm and responsive interaction. I mean, we've even discussed how we're greeting children in the classroom and kind of said, what does that look like? Let's take a look at it and see. We have more opportunities for child voice and child choice. Like we give in two options here or so. Like what are two safe things we can do if a child is having a challenging behavior, but even if they're not, we give some safe options. And again, there's emphasis on those warm and intentional relationships. And then we also have strengthened collaborations across our infant toddler program as well. And we have a set coaching cycle that emphasizes growth rather than compliance. And yes, we're compliant, but I want to see the teachers grow in their skills in supporting all children, especially our children of color. And then those shifts have fostered classrooms where Black and African American children experience they're affirmed, they have predictable environments, and they have high expectations for their learning, development, and outcomes.
Thank you, LaPrise. We're hearing that coaching, mental health consultation, and social emotional learning supported by tools like class strengthen the teacher-child interaction and create more affirming, supportive environments that focus on growth, cultural affirmation, and set high expectations for our Black and African American children. I'm going to hop over to question number 3 now. Discipline disparities often reflect adult beliefs and systems rather than children's behavior. How are you embedding ongoing self-reflection, bias awareness, and coaching into professional learning? So this work is accountable, continuous, and reduces exclusionary discipline while strengthening Black African American students' sense of belonging. I'm going to start with Thelma.
Thank you for the opportunity again. We actually just had a session as a part of our professional development on reflection of our PDs that we have had through the year. So that was, really eye-opening because, teachers go through the motions, but they don't really reflect on how, pause and reflect how this impact and snowballs. So one of the things that we have done, and I know you're gonna hear a lot of the coaching piece, but I'm so proud because Compton Unified was a recipient of the EDT grant. So with that, not just QSLA only comes now once every semester for me because we are tier 5 QSLA. So they don't really support us as much because supposedly we're doing great. But the EDT grant has really provided that platform for us to continue support our teachers with the coaching. And that means they go into the classroom and they actually have that back and forth interaction, not just with the student, but also with the teacher and say, what is it? And just like what we have intentional teaching, we have intentional coaching. And the intentional coaching reflects on what each teacher needs to be the best that she can be to support the students. So the intentional coaching with the coaches, they actually see them at least once, twice a week. So that is, and they go into the classroom and stay not just for 10 minutes, but they stay for the entire cycle, 3 hours, and they actually provide them the feedback, full-blown feedback. So I'm very, very happy with the work that is being done to really self-reflect. I had to reflect myself. They give me homework as well. So I had to reflect on what we can do better, how we can change, what's working, what we need to change. But I think as professionals and educators, we have to sit and reflect. And reflection makes, I wouldn't say perfection, but changes, brings about changes and connections. And having the teachers seeing the administrator go through the changes. We have the parents as well. We have parents meetings and we let them know, what do you think? We ask for the feedback. So that reflected piece is essential in order for us to improve, learn from each other, but also see where the gaps are and where we can improve.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I would like to invite Marissa next.
Hi, yeah, so to build on what Miss Biona was saying, here at Compton Unified, we do have very intensive coaching. And I will say that as a blessing. So Rebecca and I do have the same coach, Miss Delilah Heidke. And anybody who works with her know that she takes class in our coaching very serious. So we know we know that, like Miss Biona said, she's not gonna just be there for an hour and, oh, you're doing great. That
Oh, you are mute. You're on mute, Marissa. There we go.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes,
I'm
we
not
can.
sure if I cut off, if you heard anything at all. But so basically just we work with our coach, Miss Delilah. So she is very intensive with our class training, with our coaching. We do make sure we sit together and we reflect on what we can do better as educators, not only to be better educators for ourselves, but for our children. So that's our future there. How are we creating better learning opportunities for them? How are we creating an emotionally safe environment for them? And it has taught me that, or I let Miss Delilah know that any feedback that she gives me, I take it seriously. I don't take it personally, because like I said, it's my responsibility. We understand it's our responsibility as educators to be the best versions that we can be for our children, for our students. I understand that, with class and all of this, it's important to create fair educational practices and to be aware of anything that, we can improve upon with our teaching methods.
Thank you. So what we're hearing from Compton Unified is that it requires both training and ongoing support, and including class coaching and also including parent training to build a consistent supportive approaches for positive outcomes for children. Also heard that reflective coaching and that collaborative planning and improving the teaching practices. And I appreciate you stating that, you don't take it personal. This is what needs to be done, and being very, very reflective to continue that everyday interactions to better recognize your own biases. And then I'm also going to invite LaPriest, and then we'll move on to our last question.
Took me a minute to unmute. So we recognize that discipline disparities often reflect adult biases and systematic practices rather than sometimes the actual children's behavior. So we embed ongoing self-reflection, as I discussed in the previous question, bias awareness and coaching into all professional learning. So we just had a training yesterday, and we always make time to reflect on what we're learning and how we can utilize this within our classroom environment and our center as a whole. So due to this, we have updated our behavioral plans to reflect fact, not feelings. Because yes, we may feel a certain way, but that may not technically be the fact. So we create these plans with the families to ensure collaboration. This includes regular staff reflection on disciplinary data, because we look at which children was the race, what are we doing with the family, how many times did we contact the family. We look at all the data. We have guided discussions around implicit bias and coaching that focuses on understanding behavior as communication, because all behavior is a communication. We prioritize preventive practices such as social emotional learning, restorative approaches, and one of the plans that we just completed, it has the child working on restoring relationships with someone that he may have hit. So instead of just saying, I'm sorry, maybe the child fell because he pushed him, and now we have to help the child get a Band-Aid and hand the child the Band-Aid and help out in that way. So restoring the relationship. We have clear developmentally appropriate expectations. Accountability is maintained through ongoing observation, feedback, as well as leadership modeling. So that means I'm in the classroom too. This continuous reflective approach has significantly reduced exclusionary discipline practices while strengthening Black and African American students' sense of safety, sense of belonging, and trust within the environment, and not only with the students, with their families. A lot of times when you have families who have children with challenging behaviors, they feel like you're out to get them, you're out to get their child. And we don't have that anymore. It's a collaborative relationship so that we're all on the same page and we're all working hard to ensure that that child and family is respected, cared for, and know that they belong.
Thank you, LaPriest. Keyword reflection. And we reflect on facts, not feelings. Beautiful. And now our question number 4. I'm going to start with you, Rebecca. What does meaningful partnership with Black African American families look like in practice in your P3 settings? And how are you creating the environment for trust, shared responsibilities, and family voice?
So, to create that trust, that bond, that relationship, communicating is priority, and that starts since, we receive our students at the gate. Greeting, that energy level has to be carried throughout the whole day, not just, in large group. Something that our coach has always tells us is, remember, you have to carry that energy. So we like to show that to the parents so they feel safe, so they know their kids are fine, their kids are comfortable, their kids are having a great time in school. And then we also communicate through the Learning Genie app, as I mentioned earlier. And through this platform, I enjoy sharing photos, videos, or any upcoming information. I also like creating like little clips of like them when they're engaging in their hands-on activities. Because as I mentioned, now with the STEAM program, we do so many cool activities. Um, they have their lab coats, their goggles, hands-on activities. So I love to share that with them, and the parents love it. They love it. And also giving the parents opportunities, to converse, for example, like in our back to school night or open houses, we try making it as fun, as engaging as possible. And for example, we just had an open house, and some parents were, a little nervous of their children transitioning over to TK or making the choice of should my child stay another year in preschool or transition. So we did communicate with the TK teachers, and we gave the parents that opportunity to tour the classrooms, to meet the teachers, to think about it, and then make their choice. And that to me was really nice because it was a relationship, and they had the opportunity to meet their students' possible future teacher. And I thought it was really nice just to see that it did bring comfort to some parents. And yeah, it was just creating those opportunities, like I said.
Thank you, Rebecca. And thank you, everyone, for your insightful responses. We heard all your share focus on improving outcomes for Black and Brown children through coaching, reflective practice, how you bring class to life, and so on. So we thank you so much for your time today and your dedication. Love all those hearts coming in. And now let's have our slide deck back on the screen, please. All right, next slide. So as mentioned at the start of the webinar, the CD is excited to offer professional development certificates to all attendees for this live session. Your certificate will be mailed to the address that you use for registration. If you don't receive it by June 2nd, please contact us via the UPK mailbox, which is going to be put in the chat. And as a reminder, certificates will be issued under the name that you registered for today's webinar. Now I'm going to pass it over to Steve for reflections and closing. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Joanna. This is always the saddest part of the webinar for me, the end. This was such an insightful discussion, and really, we saw some pragmatic content shared by today's presenters and panelists. I want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone that made this webinar possible to address this critical topic of supporting positive outcomes and advancing Black African American student achievement. Just to our panelists, thank you, the team from Compton Unified, and Ms. Laprice, who graciously joins our office hours and shares her brilliance. And so just so happy you were able to join us today as well. I want to thank all the participants who made time in their busy day to attend the session and learn from our expert partners. Time is your most precious resource, and we really just appreciate you spending it with us. Want to shout out and thank our partners at Teachstone, Carlo Young and Marnetta Larimer. Shout out to Carlo and Marnetta for joining us for this important webinar from other time zones. So this was even later for them. I also want to just share some love with our CDE team, including Deputy Superintendent McGee, who joined us right before going Wheels Up. And thank you to the entire team we saw and who we didn't see on this webinar, without whose tireless effort and passion this webinar wouldn't have been such a great success. It's just so many great minds working together to make this happen. So just please join me. I see the emojis, everything, and on the screen here. Just let's share some love. Let's a cascade of love and appreciation. This was an amazing webinar. I'll leave us here with a quote. It is through consistent, meaningful interactions across every early learning setting that we build the foundation for achievement. When those interactions are intentional and they are affirming, Black children don't just succeed, they're empowered to excel. Have a great evening, everyone.